in-state tuition for DACA recipients.
On Tuesday morning, January 10th, a rally was held outside the state court building in Phoenix, Arizona, by several dozen students. These students are the recipients of the Obama administration's Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, or DACA, who denounced what they say is an attempt to strip them of their rights.
I was lucky enough to be able to transfer to Arizona State University because I started at the community colleges when they were giving in-state tuition, and when that transferred over into the universities of Arizona, that's when I was able to go on and continue my education.
I think, we're living in a time where we're really uncertain. We don't know what that looks like, and that uncertainty is what's causing all of this fear, because we don't know what's really going to happen.
Inside the courtroom, a panel of judges from the Arizona Court of Appeals heard both arguments in the case of the state of Arizona versus Maricopa County Community College District Board. Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich appealed an initial verdict from 2015, which allowed Maricopa community colleges to grant in-state tuition to DACA recipients.
Good afternoon, everybody. This morning, Secretary Napolitano announced new actions my administration will take to mend our nation's immigration policy, to make it more fair, more efficient, and more just, specifically for certain young people, sometimes called dreamers.
DACA is a program that was created by President Obama in June of 2012 to exempt immigrants who fit certain qualifications from deportation. It grants them a 2-year time frame in which they cannot be deported and are allowed to work and study. The exception, however, does not alter the recipient's immigration status, but can be renewed. The state attorney general argued that Arizona's Proposition 300, which was passed by voters in 2016, dictates that people without lawful status cannot receive in-state tuition and other similar state benefits. And according to the appeal, DACA recipients are only temporary lawful residents because of the amnesty, but their original undocumented status remains unchanged. We reached out to Attorney General Mark Brnovich for comment. He said, "My job is to uphold the will of Arizona voters, not make policy. Voters approved Prop 300, which denies public benefits for illegal immigrants. My office will continue to defend voter-approved laws, whether it's Prop 300 or Prop 206, the voter-approved minimum wage increase." The state's anti-immigration stance is not new. Arizona has been one of the main challengers to President Obama's immigration policy, which prioritizes deporting individuals with criminal records and/or who cross the border, over then children who crossed under the responsibility of their parents. In August of 2012, former Governor Jane Brewer declared the DACA program unconstitutional and issued an executive order to prevent DACA recipients from getting driver's licenses and other benefits. After a coalition of advocates sued the state and won, the U.S. Supreme Court forced Arizona to grant driver's licenses, work permits, and other benefits to DACA recipients. In the conclusions paragraph of the document for the Arizona DREAM Act Coalition versus Brewer trial, it's clearly stated by Judge David G. Campbell from the United States District Court of Arizona that by denying these privileges, Arizona would violate the Equal Protection Clause. He wrote, "In sum, we find that DACA recipients are similarly situated in all relevant respects to other non-citizens eligible for driver's licenses under Arizona's policy. And Arizona's refusal to rely on employment authorization documents from DACA recipients for purposes of establishing eligibility for driver's licenses may well violate the Equal Protection Clause for lack of a rational governmental interest, justifying the distinction relied upon." After that ruling, despite the state objections, thousands of Dreamers received their state benefits. But that was 4 years ago, and much has happened since then. Many of those Dreamers have jobs, bought cars, went to college and have careers, even bought houses with the prerogative that their situation will be regularized. For them, the thought of being pushed back into undocumented status is a cause for deep distress.
There is fear inside of me, but I will not let fear paralyze me.
Reina Montoya is the leader of a coalition called Aliento, which is Spanish for encouragement. She explains what DACA means for so many people who are brought by their parents, study, and have clean records.
This was a policy that pretty much we pushed for, and we started talking about how dreamers like me, were getting targeted. We weren't able to go to school, we weren't able to work, so there was a lot of feelings of hopelessness, that is like, we've been living here for so many years, we want to go to school, and then you have to pay out-of-state tuition, and it's so hard to do that, right? Like, what is it going to mean? And then without DACA, We weren't able to pay in-state tuition. We weren't able to get a driver's license. We weren't able to have a social security that allowed us to work. So then DACA has changed the lives of many, many undocumented youth.
The same argument used by Justice David Campbell in 2012 when ruling about driver's licenses is used now by the legal team representing the Maricopa County colleges. In essence, to pick and choose who we grant benefits amounts to discrimination. Is the state attorney trying to discriminate against a group of Arizonans? Is their presence unlawful, and should their rights be denied? The three judges closed the hearing, promising to take both arguments into account and eventually make a decision. Outside the court, the students made iconic representations of barriers impeding their progress in life, which they ripped as they walked together.
Not only DACA students are under attack, but our undocumented parents, our undocumented neighbors, and a lot of many other communities, women, Muslims. And I have a question for everybody who lives in the United States. 20 years from now, how are we going to look back, and are we going to say we remained in the silence, or we were part of the people who stood for justice and who fought for it?
Since President Obama signed the program, DACA has been plagued with challenges and victories in court, and it has offered relief to a generation of migrants. Will this be another one? If the Arizona state's attorney is successful, the difference will be daunting. For example, to be able to afford the same career at ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, a DACA recipient would pay over $16,000 more a year as an out-of-state student.
So for the Attorney General to be going after this particular group of students is simply mean-spirited and evil. And it's reminiscent of what happened in Germany when they went after the Jewish children and would no longer allow the Jewish children to go to school.
Many expect this to change when President-elect Trump takes office.
I frankly believe that we're going to prevail here at the court. But at the end of the day, we have to be real about something, that if the president withdraws the DACA program, all of this means nothing.
In fact, the president-elect has promised to get rid of it. Furthermore, the confirmation of Jeff Sessions, which happened the same day of the hearing, made a big impact on the activists.
And we know that with Jeff Sessions, we know where he stands. And would he have mercy, knowing that our databases are there? Is he going to start targeting us?
To apply for DACA, as almost 1 million have, you must submit names and addresses along with any other pertinent information. So there is a fear over what Trump will do with that information once he takes office.
And this is a real threat for our people, and not only for undocumented youth, but also for DACA recipients and for the community at large.
Beyond the tuition for these young Arizonans, there seems to be a larger trend of challenges to the rights of a Latino community deeply entrenched in the state. Even with the Obama administration's record of nearly 3 million deported, Trump ran and won with a campaign pledge to immediately deport millions more.
Thanks to deferred action, we were able to have in-state tuition in the state of Arizona. And so having DACA taken away is a very real risk that we are facing now, and we won't find out until Inauguration Day.
If DACA is taken away, it will mean that millions of people who grew up here will lose their protected status.
I think there was a recent study done that if all DACA recipients are deported, I think there's a loss of about $20 billion in tax revenue. Every single person that has DACA has the ability to work. And by working, we pay income taxes, we're paying into Social Security, we're paying into Medicaid, things that we are not even promised. These are programs that we're paying into, but we don't know if we're going to have those programs in the end.
Not only will their job permits and ability to drive and many other benefits be taken away, but most importantly, they could be targeted by law enforcement.
Immigration is front and center in our political debate again. Much of what we're hearing from the president-elect and the incoming administration is concerning, but as of now they haven't done anything. It's unclear whether they're going to be able to accomplish any of what they say they're going to do or whether they in fact want to do those things. So we're going to be closely watching, and if they do something that goes beyond their constitutional duties, then we're going to be carefully figuring out if it can stand up in court.
For more on the ongoing fight for immigrant rights in Arizona, keep watching The Real News.